The Military Radio Collectors Group Clatternet, May 9th, 2020. Hi, this is Bill, KE3BK. We're looking here at the frequencies advertised by the Clatternet, which may or may not work for you because they're really um, made for military equipment that the guys are using on the net. Um, we're we don't really have to worry about that too much because it's an 850 hertz shift, and the mark is on the low frequency. So, however you can do that, that's what you got to do. Now, we'll start with the equipment that I'm using here. We have a Flex 6400M as my main transceiver, and that's up at the top middle of the screen. I have a homebrew Bardo terminal program that I'm using to decode the MIDI information coming from an ST8000A. The transmit window is there, the little window. It just shows power and SWR. Lower right is Northern Utah Web SDR, and I'm using that as a monitor to monitor everybody and then display it via MMTTY up in the top right hand corner. And everybody comes through fairly well to Northern Utah. The lower left portion is taken up by voice meter, potato, audio panel, and that's how I route audio to and from everything. It's a pretty neat little program. It's like a versatile patch panel. Okay, here we have some of the equipment that I'm using. The HAL CWR 6850 up on top. The HAL ST8000 in the middle, which we're not using today. But the HAL ST8000A on the bottom is what we're using to run the RIDI to my teletype machine. We'll let this go for a while so you can see. Maybe you can see the recording is not too bad, but it's maybe a little bit fuzzy. But I'm using the 8000A because it was a military piece of gear, and this is the Military Radio Collectors Group. So that's why I'm using it. The 6850 I'm using just for fun to see how it actually was decoding things. Coming up here in just a few seconds will be a short video of a tape message that was sent during the Clatternet net via my Model 28 ASR. Here it is, loading it in, starting it up, and then it goes to a close-up, and maybe you can see printed on the tape is actually the message that I'm sending. You might be able to read it, you might not be able to read it, depending on your eyesight. Mine is pretty poor, so we'll see how that goes. This doesn't last long, but it was just a message that I sent to basically just test out the tape reader. And actually right in the background right now you can see a bunch of RYs up on the two terminals, an MMTTY on the right and the Bardo terminal on the left. This is actually the start of the net. I missed recording the start of the net on the I actually recorded the northern Utah WebSDR signal. If you notice in the middle of the screen, it looks like a little cassette tape. Well, actually, I recorded that using the voice meter potato application. However, as you can tell, I started a little bit late. Now we have a few more minutes to go before we get to that point. But up until then, you can see what's going on the net, even though we don't hear any clattering at this time. We'll get to that in a minute. This is actually kind of a long video. I don't know if there's a whole lot of interest in it, but I did it mainly for the guys who actually are on the net, so they can see their signal and see. It's sort of like a video signal report. Okay, we're about to start where my recording started, and you can see there's the recording started. And there we come up with the Model 28 ASR down in the lower left, and the screen on the CWR 6850 on the right. And this is actually synchronized with the it's actually the at this point the teletype and the CWR 6850 are actually using the signal from the northern Utah WebSDR that has already been recorded. In order to get all of these different things on the screen at one time, I had to go back and sort of edit this thing, but it's pretty well synchronized. And what you'll see on the teletype machine especially, you'll see after transmissions, it'll be printing out a bunch of garbage. And that primarily is because of the way the AGC at the Northern Utah WebSDR is, and the HAL ST8000A could have been set up a little bit better. In the ST8000A is pretty critical as far as input level. If you want to have it actually go to a mark condition after the actual signal has stopped. It's pretty sensitive to the noise. But anyhow, you'll see the transmissions going by. So in all actuality, the only signal that you actually see live is the one being displayed up in the upper left-hand corner, the Bordeaux terminal. All the other places the teletype machine itself, the CWR6850, and the MMTTY terminal screen up top are all coming from the Northern Utah Web SDR. Okay, now here I'm transmitting. You can see the transmit signal really poke up there. And I forgot to unkey. Look at that. There's the mark sticking up there for a while. Okay, now I finally unkeyed. Okay, here's my turn to transmit. And during this transmission, I believe it's coming up. I transmit that message that I punched on the tape earlier. There, yeah, that's what it is. You notice up on the MMTTY screen, you can actually see the cross-hatch representation of the signal and the mark in space frequencies in the audio, and it's looking actually pretty good. I'm running probably 80-90 watts output. This is W7NPA in Washington. He's actually using some old military equipment, and that's why you see he's going letter by letter on the keyboard. Wish I could have gotten a little bit better screen recording. Maybe next time I do it, I will try something new. This was actually recorded. I had a remote desktop running on my iMac. The actual software that's running here is actually on a PC, but I had a remote desktop on iMac, and I recorded that copy of the remote desktop window with a tool that I had readily available, and maybe it could be a little bit better, but we'll have to see. Just have to see what I can do. Okay, now I am transmitting off of the keyboard, which you can see character by character. This RIDI experience is all new to me. I actually bought the Model 28 ASR back last summer because actually I wanted to get on the air. I restored it, and it actually didn't need a whole lot of work. It was just mostly lubrication. It's in very nice condition. And the Clatternet, this is the second Clatternet I've been on, and this is the first opportunity I've actually had to get it on the air in conversation with other ham radio operators, and I'm pretty excited about it. There's a lot to learn. It's a different animal, but it's fun putting it all together. At this point, I was typing blind because I didn't have the echo turned on for the teletype machine, and I'm not used to typing without seeing the text on the paper. But another thing that's got to be done correctly next time. Once again, forgot to unkey. There we go. This is the first time I ever attempted anything like this video. Trying to put everything together, something I've never done before. And hopefully that you'll get something out of it anyway. And I look forward to getting back on Clatternet again every weekend, if I can. Gives me a chance to test out my assortment of HAL equipment that I have. Plus I have the Model 33 teletype that I want to try to get online too. Even though it's not Bordeaux, I have made a little Arduino adapter for it that makes it work with Bordeaux. So anyhow, there's a couple more minutes to go on this, and I'm probably going to end my talking right now. And I hope you enjoyed this. It was Clatternet is fun. 73.